a package. Well, let's open it up and see what it is. Oh, heck yes! Man, these things are always so good. Season's greetings! This is Masashi X here, wishing everyone happy holidays! 2019 is slowly coming to a close, so now would be a good time to squeeze in one more review of a game that's been highly anticipated for years, and when it finally came out, well, let's just say opinions have been sort of mixed, which is understandable upon playing this game. It also gained somewhat of a controversy on the fact that it's been nominated in the Game Awards this year in 9 categories despite only being released this past month. But then Red Dead Redemption 2 came out November of the past year with many nominations under its belt, so I don't see why people are not complaining about that. Those who have seen the game find the gameplay choice a little questionable, which I understand what they meant, as they didn't expect that from the creator himself. But strangely enough for me, once I start playing this game, I do find some enjoyment out of it. However, there are some things about the game that I do find very strange. Nevertheless, I still enjoy it anyway. Here's my review of Death Stranding. Death Stranding, Kojima Productions' first game since the studio disbanded from its parent company, Konami, back in 2015. For those who don't know, Hideo Kojima has aspirations in becoming a film director, which will later find himself transitioning into game designing when he was employed at Konami by first becoming a programmer for an MSX game called Penguin Adventure. Shortly after, he would be a lead producer for another project called Metal Gear, and short and to the point, the series would be selling big like hotcakes and raking in serious bucks. He would also go on to making other games like Snatcher, Policenauts, and Zone of the Enders, but Metal Gear is what made Kojima a household name to gamers. In 2014, a playable teaser called Silent Hills was available on the PlayStation 4, was meant to be released as a 9th installment of the Silent Hill franchise, with joint direction from both Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, as well as Norman Reedus of Boondock Saints and Walking Dead fame to provide appearance and voice of its protagonist. However, in 2015, Kojima and his team had conflicts with Konami's direction, causing not only himself and the team to leave, but also causing the cancellation of Silent Hills, as well as having the second half of his game, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, to be completed without him, removing his name out of it entirely, and having its plot becoming an unmitigated mess in the end. Kojima Productions would then resurface in 2016 as an independent company, with Kojima reuniting with both Del Toro and Reedus and making an entirely new game called Death Stranding. And when I saw the trailers of the game, I often wonder, what the heck was I looking at? You got Norman Reedus holding an infant child, stranded in the middle of nowhere as if he's ended up in the dark coastline in Kingdom Hearts with more randomness showing up. Regardless, if Hideo Kojima's name is in this game, I just accept it as it is and just wait for more trailers to show up to get a better understanding of what I'm about to play. Just like the Metal Gear series, Kojima is also known for telling complex stories and hiding subliminal message within his games for us to find and absorb to our brains, and this game is no exception to his rule. So what is Death Stranding trying to tell us? What message is everything in the game trying to send? Let's look at the game's story first. The game is in a post-apocalyptic setting where all nations of the Earth were forced into underground colonies following an unexpected catastrophe known as the eponymous Death Stranding, with phantom creatures as the perpetrators called beach stings or BTs, causing void-outs which are huge explosions on areas once they absorb corpses, and cause dangerous thunderstorms called timefall, which causes things to deteriorate fast when it touches. Set in the United States, now called the United Cities of America, or UCA, you take the role of Sam Porter Bridges, played by Norman Reedus, a freelance carrier who is out delivering cargo until he is stopped to find shelter from the timefall, where he would encounter a woman named Fragile, played by French actress Léa Seydoux, and assisted Sam in evading a BT as they would also consume living beings by sensing their breath. After completing his delivery, he is then tasked in incinerating a man's corpse after committing suicide, but things went sour when they were attacked by a massive BT, not only causing a void out on central Knot City, but it took Sam into its afterlife called the Seam. And after escaping the Seam, Sam emerges with just himself and a genetically made infant called a Bridge Baby, or BB, which Sam would eventually nickname Lou. Sam wakes up in an underground facility where he meets a scientist named Deadman, modeled after director Guillermo del Toro, which we would learn that Sam has special genes called Dooms, which gives him an ability to sense, see, or to some extent control a BT, and is also a repatriate, which he can travel back to the living world and escaping the beach, which is the BT's land of the dead. He would make a delivery to bring medicinal products to his dying adopted mother and America's first and last female president, Bridget Strand, played by Lindsay Wagner, who pleads Sam to return to the organization Bridges and help rebuild America before succumbing to her own illness. He reluctantly rejoins the organization, and under orders of his former superior named Die Hardman, Yippee-ki-yay, Sam would take Bridget's body to be burned, but after doing so, BTs would invade the incinerator, but was able to escape with the help of Lou, because being a BB, Lou's connection with the porter can help detect the presence of BTs, as Sam couldn't see them directly until he's close to one. Sam is then reunited with his sister Amelie, modeled using a de-aged Lindsay Wagner but voiced by actress Emily O'Brien, who was only a hologram due to a terrorist group called the Homo Demons, taking her hostage at Edge Knot City following a failed expedition on discovering the remains of the US. Sam would make it his mission to go all the way west to rescue Amelie in order to take over Bridget's place as president of the UCA, and he would gain some assistance from other staff members of Bridges, such as weapons expert Mama, played by Margaret Qualley, researcher Hartman, modeled after Danish director Nicholas Winding Refn, and technician / Mama's twin sister Lochna, also played by Margaret Qualley. Every once in a while, whenever Sam plugs in Lou, Sam would occasionally see some visions of a mysterious man through Lou's eyes, with the man in question played by Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen. Before he can get any answers to it, he encounters a masked man named Higgs Monahan, played by voice actor Troy Baker, and uses BT to attack Sam and destroy Port Knot City, but Sam successfully destroys the BT and saves the town. Fragile reveals that both her and Higgs once worked together within the same carrier service until a terrorist incident occurred that caused the city to be destroyed, making the people believe that she caused the event to take shape. Fragile offers her assistance to travel to the central region of the US in order to safely connect more chiral networks into their systems. Later in the story, Sam would be sucked into a portal and wakes up in a World War II-like setting where he is attacked by the mysterious man and his undead soldiers, but after a few shots to the face ends the battle, and Sam would then wake up back to reality with no idea what just happened. As Sam continues to connect more chiral networks, some campers are willing to cooperate while some won't at first, as is the case with Lochna, who has some animosity with Mama, as well as Lochna leaving Bridges following an incident that cost her the lives of her team. So Sam travels back to South Knot City to retrieve Mama, who also has similar genes as Sam does, but after requesting Sam to cut the cord of the infant BT that she was raising as her own, she's then weakened and is about to be taken to Lochna until Higgs shows up again with another giant BT, but Sam takes it down again. By the time they arrive at Mountain Knot City, the two are reunited, but for a short moment, as Mama's body passes on while her consciousness resides within Lochna, right after Mama tells Sam of them being conjoined twins and the issues Lochna has with her. Deadman temporarily takes Lou away from Sam out of fear of its sudden unstable nature and needed to be researched further, but not before Deadman secretly tells Sam that the creation of BBs was something Bridget had a hand on for a while and be used for top secret motives. After connecting a few chiral networks, Deadman tells Sam to meet with him at a cabin in the mountaintops, only for a huge tornado to show up and swallow Sam, Deadman, and Lou into it, and ended up in a war zone. Sam regains Lou back while Deadman sought shelter elsewhere, but soon after, Sam encounters the mysterious man again and engage in a gunfight to the death. He's then defeated again, but rises up and seems to be after Lou for some strange reason. After that episode, Sam, Deadman, and Lou have returned back to reality safely. Deadman reveals that 10 years past, a void-out occurred which sees only a man and a huge crater being the only remains of that incident, implying that the survivor is also the mysterious man himself, deducing that he's also a repatriate just like Sam. Sam takes Mama's body to Hartman's lab as for some reason doesn't appear to have necrosis as the body still feels fresh than dead, and inside the bag is a vial containing an umbilical cord which Hartman concludes that it's not human. As Hartman continues to research the Death Stranding and dimensional travel, the dog tag that Sam got from the battle reads that the mysterious man is named Clifford Unger, and Hartman deduces that Lou acts more like a catalyst between the living and the World War II-like battlefields. Sam proceeds to connect the remaining chiral networks in order to finally reach Edge Knot City, and then returns to Hartman, who says that the vial had a recorded message from Deadman to Sam, revealing that the umbilical cord is actually Bridget's, showing no signs of any decomposition, and believes that it may be the key of why the Death Stranding happened, with Hartman implying that Amelie is identified as an extinction entity, or to put it bluntly, a human atomic bomb, which later in the story, Amelie herself revealed that truth to Sam as such. After evading alien-like blobs and taking out a few more BTs, Sam is able to connect Edge Knot City into the chiral network, but his rest was short-lived because as Sam exits the distribution center, Higgs appears along with a Titan-like BT holding Amelie as hostage, as Higgs plans to use her to reset the Earth to zero. Upon defeating the Titan, Higgs proceeds not only to take Amelie again, but also kills off Sam. Sam was able to swim back from death, but it was too late as Higgs took her to the beach, with Fragile telling Sam that he's the only one who could stop him from destroying the Earth. With Fragile's help, Sam is then teleported to the beach where he finds both Higgs and Amelie. Sam gets into one more gunfight with Higgs, with Sam victorious but kept his word to Fragile that he would keep him alive. Amelie takes Sam to the other side of the beach where not only Amelie disappears, but sees a glimpse of both Die Hardman and Bridget, with the former blaming her for what America has become, when out of the water, Clifford Unger shows up and removes Die Hardman's mask, revealing his true identity to be a former Green Beret named John McClane. Yeah, yippee-ki-yay. Amelie then reappears from out of nowhere as Unger and his troops are closing in on Sam. Amelie ejected him from the beach to avoid pursuit. Once back in the private room, Deadman concludes that Clifford Unger may be pulling the strings this whole time and needed to be stopped. However, with Fragile's ability to teleport using beaches have become unsafe, Sam has to find his way back to the East Coast personally, and as he comes out of the room, timefall has worsened. As he's making his way back, Deadman was researching about Clifford Unger's life and his connection to the Bridge Baby project. Talking about the project, Deadman discovered that the BB project was indeed issued by Bridget, with the purpose being to reconnect America as one whole nation. It's also discovered that Unger's child was being conducted into those experiments, which would explain why he would go into great lengths to stop the operation. Hartman then concludes that by exploiting Amelie's ability, Unger would bring about the Last Stranding, an event that would eliminate the whole Earth itself in the solar system, as his way of taking revenge for the loss of his family. Sam gets transferred into another battlefield by Unger, and after one last gunfight, Unger finally lightens up and gives Sam another dog tag as a way of relaying another message before emerging back into reality. A pre-recorded message from Die Hardman states that Amelie would take him to the beach and decides to play along, knowing that it was a trap in order to find out what Amelie really is, revealing that Amelie is not Bridget's biological daughter and that both Amelie and Bridget are one and the same. Fragile reveals the shocking truth about Amelie, as Amelie is the real leader of the Homo Demons, and that Higgs was just a pawn to her to set these events into motion, which would explain his betrayal of Fragile. Sam is then teleported to the beach and finds Amelie again, and convinces her to stop the last Stranding from happening, with the only way to stop it is to permanently separate herself and her beach from the world of the living. Amelie lets Sam decide to shoot her down, but even Sam couldn't pull the trigger after everything he's been through. So with one last embrace, Sam is sent back into reality, this time for good. Back in reality, Die Hardman would instead take the Strand's place as president of the UCA, with all staff members of Bridges coming together to his cause, but soon after, he would confess that he killed Unger not for the nation but out of loyalty of the president, with Sam telling him to just simply man up. Bad news came from Deadman when he tells Sam that Lou has passed on and needed to be incinerated. Sam is then greeted by Fragile, with her stating that she will rebuild her company and restore its reputation. Sam connects Lou one more time, and as he does so, the memories of his past is not from Lou's, but rather his own, as Unger was killed while trying to escape with a still infant Sam, concluding the fact that Sam is Unger's son. Sam was also killed in the incident, only to be revived by Amelie, making him a repatriate, and as a result, adopted by Bridget as her own child, as he can no longer be a Bridge baby. After knowing all of this, Sam couldn't bring himself to incinerating Lou and manages to resuscitate Lou back to life and raise the baby as his own child, with Lou later referred to as Louise, as the baby's gender is female, ending Death Stranding. Yup, this is definitely vintage Hideo Kojima storytelling right here. I played many of his past creations before this, and let me tell you that for this game, it's the most complex story I've had to listen to. There's just so much to absorb with so many plot points that are scattered all over the place. It's like mixing in multiple film genres all at once, and it would get complicated until you're 3/4 of the way into the game would you be able to piece the puzzle together. A very big puzzle. Topics of rebuilding the world, understanding the meaning of life and death, what message conveys on what Sam does, what subliminal message are being told in the game, what significance does the beach has, who Sam really is. All of that aren't fully explained until you're this close into defeating the game. However, most of the words that I've been hearing throughout the game, like knots and bridges, I could be wrong and feel free to correct me on this, but I think the theme the game is going for is reconnecting the world, and that's fine, but as I was going through the first few hours of playing the game, nothing really made sense to me at first. Just like Metal Gear and all other past works of Kojima's, you have to listen to everything with a fine-tooth comb if you're willing to make sense out of everything the story is trying to convey, and once I finally see the end of the game, my brain has turned into mashed potatoes when it was finally over. Don't get me wrong, the screenplay is nicely done, but it still feels very complex for me to absorb into my head, with all the topics trying to compile themselves into one message they're trying to say. In terms of aesthetics, Death Stranding looks beautiful. The open world is very massive, giving you full reign to explore to your heart's content, and despite the post-apocalyptic theme, the studio has done so much to make the landscape resemble actual landscape, from the trees, grass, mountains, and rocky fields, and they've done a great job of having, no pun intended, such fluid animation on the rivers and waterfalls. Speaking of the water, they've also done the timefall as realistic as an actual rainfall, from the way it darkens the sky to having wind currents that would push the rain either forward or to another direction. The designs of the bridges stations being integrated into the soil worked out so well, given how the world's citizens are being forced underground, and the designs of wrecked buildings and abandoned structures in conjunction with the timefall convey a combined sense of suspense and horror whenever BTs are slowly coming in for the grab. The character modeling is the best I've ever seen, just as good as L.A. Noire's modeling, if not better. The studio wasted no time in perfecting the likeness of the celebrities involved with the project, and when viewed on 1080p or above, it's like watching in a theater. Death Stranding won an award for Best Score, and well deserved, as the sound presentation has some of the most well-composed songs I've heard in the game. Many of the songs done by Ludwig Forssell, who also made compositions for Metal Gear Solid 5, convey tones of melancholy and suspensions of disbelief, especially on BT attacks, while songs done by the Icelandic band called Low Roar are very calm, soothing, and very easy to listen to, making you feel more relaxed. Like any other Kojima game, the voice acting is very well done. Each celebrity is doing what they can to give their characters some personality, like Norman Reedus being Norman Reedus with that stoic yet caring personality, Mads Mikkelsen giving out his best performance to make his character with justifiable motives stand out, Lea Seydoux really does a nice work on her voice acting, Margaret Qualley's role in the game is much better than that trainwreck Netflix Death Note movie, and Troy Baker will always be Troy Baker. You give him a role of a villain archetype, and you'll be guaranteed a voice of a villain archetype. As for the gameplay, this is where many find the game extremely polarizing, but I'll give it the benefit of a doubt. You control Sam in an open world setting, taking on various missions on taking one or many packages from one location to the next and so forth, and every so often, you'll find some lost cargo that you can choose to return back to that specific town. Basically, it's one fetch quest after another, and if I'm being honest here, while I'm used to fetch quests on other games, I'll admit that in the first few hours in the game, it does tend to get a little mundane, what with the limited supplies you have, whether using ladders or climbing ropes and keep on walking to get somewhere. A glorified UPS simulator, if you will. However, it wasn't until the second half of the game where these fetch quests would improve, and improve more when you reach about 65% of the game, with more chiral networks to connect, completing more side quests, and turning in more lost cargo to their respective owners, and the more rating you get, you'll eventually gain more blueprints to fabricate more equipment for easier progression. Using a PCC and the power of 3D printing! You can use different materials that you can find on the field to fabricate different things such as bikes for faster travels, trucks to carry large amounts of cargo, exoskeletons to help improve performance, or creating structures like bridges, roads, or your homemade private room in case you're far away from a distribution center. You can also create other structures like post boxes, generators to charge your vehicle and exoskeletons, create timefall shelters to protect your cargo from rain damage, or zooming through zip lines, and that's my favorite part of the game. Going through one place after another via zipline is so entertaining, I was immediately reminded of that one piglet from that Geico commercial years before. It's also worth noting that the game locks up the circle button whenever you're zooming on a much higher zipline, preventing you from falling to your death, which thankfully they implemented just in case your finger slipped, because if they didn't, you might end up like that disgruntled mailman from that awful Double Dragon movie. Yeah, obscure reference, I know, but moving on. Be advised that these structures don't stay up forever, as they can deteriorate over time, and it worsens when they're in areas where timefall is very frequent, and you have to spend materials in order to keep them active. Fortunately, if you're well connected on PlayStation Network, and very soon on Steam, there will be players that, while they don't appear on your side of the game, they will leave out structures and vehicles for you to use, some cargo that you can use, or you can donate some stuff of your own whenever a new player starts a new game for the first time to get a good start. Private lockers are important because with or without exoskeletons, Sam can only carry so much, and so can your vehicles, so it's imperative that you store some items to your distribution centers and come back for them later when you're ready, so at least the game throws you a bone by making sure nothing gets lost. Every time you complete a delivery, you can also increase Sam's stats in 5 different categories to help Sam carry more load, make connections with other players, make Sam hold his breath longer from BTs, and so forth. You can also raise specific attributes based on completing side quests of varying categories, either by finding a specific item that a client has lost, taking cargo undamaged, taking a cargo in complete numbers, or get the cargo to a destination within a time limit. Some of them will give you a challenge if you don't have the proper setup prior to accepting the order. The combat is executed well. In the game, you'll come across other wandering humans called mules who don't kill and are after your cargo, and terrorist campers armed with rifles, and this is where the game tries to be a little Metal Gear-ish. You can take them out slowly with your strand like an hitman, only you don't kill them at all, get into some old-fashioned fisticuffs, or fire a bola gun at them. You'll later get some weapons that can kill, but it is advised that you don't do so, as BTs tend to feed on corpses as well. These camps also have so much material, so raid them if you can. As for the BTs, with your breach baby attached, it can tell you where the BT is, and it's either you hold your breath and walk the opposite direction, or you can use weapons they're weak to, but be warned that doing the latter will cost you some HP. Unless you brought some blood bags on your person, you'll die from draining your own blood, and when you die, you'll have to dive back into your body to escape the seam and pick up where you left off. I will say that there's nothing more irritating than to have BTs trying to pull you in, and you have to shake them off and get out of there before it continues on. As tempted as I am to use deadly guns on human enemies, I'd rather not risk it and just save it for a scripted battle. And besides, bola guns are effective anyway.
The latest in our line of EX grenades. I give you the number 2. As you may have surmised, this model was produced with various extracts refined from your fecal matter.
I find that very disgusting. You can make grenades out of your own bodily fluids and your own wastes? Why? Why would you give me such detail? And when you know it, it can somewhat damage BTs. I knew games like Duke Nukem Forever or the South Park RPGs can get away with toilet humor, but this one takes it on a whole new level and it's rancid to boot. The boss fights in the game are not too shabby, and despite most of them being giant BTs, they're not that hard if you're well stocked and if you know when and where to properly aim your guns or grenades, and when they go down, it's more Chiral Crystals for you to spend on. So my verdict of the game? Well, I'll say right now that it's definitely not for everyone. Many that hear the name Hideo Kojima would expect the game along the lines and standards of Metal Gear, and I know that Fetch Quest doesn't earn that much fans, but I don't mind it personally because with the different tools to use, you can be very creative on planning your routes to get to your destination faster, or escape from enemies with ease. The story is not too bad, if a bit convoluted. Again, vintage Hideo Kojima screenplay, and the overall presentation of the game really does make a unique and entertaining experience for me. Death Stranding gets at least a 9 out of 10. It may not be Metal Gear, but when playing this game for more than 100 hours, them feels are there, and this game, no pun intended, delivers. I know you might be thinking that I might be giving Hideo Kojima too much credit for it, but at the end of the day, it's all a matter of personal taste, and again, this game is not for everyone. And also, I did say that I would give this game a benefit of a doubt, considering that this is Hideo Kojima's first game in a few years right after Metal Gear Solid 5, as well as his departure from the company. Instead, I let my experience determine whether or not I enjoyed this game, and while I do enjoy this game, it's also recommended that it's either you rent the game or you borrow it from a friend that has played or defeated the game and make the judgment for yourself whether or not you like this game in a similar fashion. Well, that wraps up this review as well as 2019. I hope you all liked this video, and hey, there'll be more videos to come on 2020. So what game will I venture forward to next? For my first video of 2020, let's just say I'm a little, or rather feeling a little, retro, shall we say. But I'm not going to say anything and just wait until I upload the video for 2020. Until then, this has been Musashi X, and I bid you all farewell. Take care, stay tuned, and happy holidays, everybody!